has the saddest thought we were friends moment. Story 1, 4th grade. It was my best friend's birthday. She had recently transitioned to homeschooling. Up until she was in homeschooling, we spent most days together and every single weekend. When she moved to homeschooling, we only hung out every other weekend or so. Because she was busy with school, I gave her a call to wish her a happy birthday. She was in the middle of her birthday party. She had invited all of her friends, which I then figured out I wasn't one of. Story 2, in 2nd grade. I gave my best friend one half of a best friend's necklace at recess that day. She came over to me and asked to see my half to show this other girl in our class. She gave my half to the other girl, and we never spoke again. Story 3, to the thought we were friends moment. She didn't invite me to her wedding, though everyone else from our smallish group of friends was invited. I heard from it through our friends, who were very confused as to why she wasn't inviting me. I had invited her to my wedding a couple of years before, though she couldn't make it for family reasons, which was totally understandable for me. We were fine. As far as I knew, she told them she didn't invite me because she didn't want people in her wedding who wasn't going to be in her future. I was, of course, very hurt and confused because there hadn't been any problems as far as I knew. And well, if she was done with me, what should I do? That was the moment for me. It was a mix of rejection, humiliation, impotence, and sadness. We had known each other for 15 years at this point. I didn't want to put our other friends in a weird situation, so I just stood away. Now to the end, so happy that we are not friends anymore. Moment she contacted me several times to tell me very excitedly about her wedding plans, which we all found very weird. I didn't really react, but wasn't confrontational either. Well, she married, and less than a year later, I heard from our common friends that she was having tons of problems. I felt pity for her. I reached out and said that I didn't know what had happened to make her not want me in her life, but that I was there anyway if she needed something. She answered that her problem with me was that when I married, the day I had chosen to celebrate my wedding seemed as if I didn't want that she came to it. She had somehow expected me to pick another date for the party because it didn't fit her and was really angry that I hadn't made any effort. This was the first time I was hearing about this and was astounded. I mean, at the time, she had told me she couldn't make it. I understood it, and as far as I was concerned, all was well. She had been angry with me for this for over 3 years, given what I thought was a friendship up, and made the situation for our common friends extremely awkward. This was the moment when I realized that I didn't want anything else to do with her. Story 4, we had to pick partners for dodgeball in like 5th grade. So I went to ask my friend. He told me, hey, wait a second, I just got to check something, and then asked literally 5 other students until one finally accepted to pair with him. I had to play with the teacher on that round. Story 5, I was with a group of people when one person mocked me by saying you don't have any friends. So I turned to my friend next to me and said he's my friend, but he jokingly said I'm not your friend, was pretty humiliated and disappointed at the same time. Story 6, this happened. When I was 12, I had just moved schools, but I still tried my best to hang out and keep in contact with all my other friends. After a month or so, it was on my best friend's birthday, and everyone was invited except me. I ended up asking to come too, which wasn't a big deal since we usually turn up at each other's houses all the time anyway, and I didn't want to miss out on the fun. So I go, and we genuinely had a great time until it was around 8 o'clock-ish, and one of them asked me when I was going home. I decided that my parents hadn't given me a time I needed to arrive home by, so I said that I would leave when everyone else did. This is how it usually went, as I didn't live that far, so it wouldn't take long for me to get back Amy way. A couple hours roll past, and it's now pitch black outside, and nobody had left, so I asked when everyone else is planning on leaving to head back home, and it's now that they all say that they're actually there to have a sleepover, except me. So I start heading back home all by myself. And I must have taken a wrong turn because I got lost and didn't know where I was. I want to call my mom to pick me up, but my phone was very conveniently out of charge. I wandered around for ages before finally finding a road I was familiar with, and I sprinted back home as it would take another half hour to get back home from where I was now, and I didn't want my parents to panic. I get home still crying and out of breath, just as my mom was leaving in the car to drive around and come and find me. That was fun. Story 7, friend I thought I had when I was a kid shot me in the chest with a BB gun once. Pretty much lured me into the woods to do it too. That ended things pretty quickly. Story 8, kinda in reverse of what the question asked, but here goes. In 6th grade, someone asked me and this other kid if we were friends. We both said yeah. Then he asked if we were best friends, and I said no at the same time as he said yes. Felt like complete. Story 9, when one of my actual friends and I were chatting one day about someone I thought was a mutual friend, my actual friend said, dude, when does he call you when he needs something from you? That's it. He doesn't hang out and laugh like we do. He's not your friend, and he's not mine either. If he was a real friend, he'd hang out when he didn't need a favor specifically from you. Actual friend was right. Story 10, a college friend asked to borrow $500 with a promise to pay it back in full 1 month later. At the time, it was nearly all the money I had, so it was a sacrifice to loan it. After nearly 3 months went by, I finally asked him to please repay the loan as I needed it for expenses. He said, "Hate to break it to you, but it's not going to happen." So I said, "Whatever problem you're facing, I wish you good luck with it. No need to pay me back." He didn't even thank me. Never heard from him again. Story 11. My friend, who had been complaining about having to spend 2 days with her boyfriend, asked me for my opinion of them moving in together. I mean, you got annoyed with him after 2 days into your vacation, so... Or, well, I get annoyed with you after 2 hours, so I flinched. Our friendship never recovered after that. Story 12. When I was 21, I had been dating this guy. We were living together, and everything. He seemed super nice. Came off as so charming to everyone, good looking, nice, good family. Anyways, one day, I come home from work, and I notice all his stuff is gone. I was devastated because there was no indication anything was wrong before he left. He just up and left, completely ghosted me. During the time I dated this guy, I introduced him to my closest friend group, one of whom was my best friend since grade school. This breakup really rocked me. Ended up going to the hospital and everything. So a week after the breakup, my best friend and my other close friend at the time told me that I should meet X's new girlfriend because she's so nice and I'd really like her. They also told me I should stop being so sad and move on already. It was one of the most heartbreaking experiences in my life, and I've been through some pretty messed up stuff. Needless to say, I don't talk to any of those people anymore, and the ex married that girlfriend, them all haha. Edit can't spell. This happened about a week ago. I met this really cute girl through one of my friends, and we started to talk a lot. I had a little crush on her, and apparently she did too. I took the time to get to know her, and one day, finally decided to ask her out. She said if I made her a song, I'm a small artist. I thought it wasn't a big deal, and I got to work. The friend who introduced her to me told me she was just playing me, so I asked her about it. It took her a couple of days to give a complete answer, but she told me she was just playing. I was so sad, but that's not even the worst part. A couple of days later, I struck up a conversation with her about the situation and asked if we could still be friends. And she replied with, I am still broken from this whole thing and have lost a lot of confidence when I'm around girls. Story 13. When I was in 5th grade, I went on a student ambassador trip to Australia. I went with about 20 other kids my age and didn't really get along with anyone. That, combined with the fact I was homesick as for those 2 weeks, made the trip pretty miserable. There was one other kid on the trip that I made friends with purely because we were the outcasts. He made me promise to stay his friend for the whole trip because the other kids were being really mean to him. We had a sort of pact against the popular kids. Anyway, jump forward to the last night of our trip. You can probably see where this is going. We were at a restaurant, and I asked him to sit with me. He walks right past me like he doesn't even know me to sit with the popular kids. I walked over to their table and asked why he wouldn't sit with me. He looks at me dead in the face and says, in front of everyone else, this annoying kid, we were never friends. I have never felt so betrayed in my life. Story 14. In the summer before 5th grade, I was in a summer program with my bestest ever friend since kindergarten. One day, she told me that she wanted to be friends with another girl, so she was going to stop being my friend. Still haven't recovered from that, even years later. Story 15. When I was 12, I was at my friend's house who was a few years older, and I thought was really cool. He showed me this red cell phone he was going to give his girlfriend, who I've never met. A week later, a few of us were hanging out, and one of the girls is really flirting with me. She was older and really cute. So my inexperienced 12-year-old self asked if she wanted to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. I was flying on cloud 9 until later that night. She pulls out the same red cell phone my friend was giving to his GF, who I then realized was her. Turns out it was a joke they were playing on me. I didn't think it was that funny. Story 16. In the 6th grade, I had one friend. We lived right next door to each other. She was homeschooled until the 6th grade. Then she started going to public school with me. Right off the bat, it was like she didn't know me. A couple of girls started picking on me, and she became friends with them. She didn't pick on me, but she didn't stop them. The words didn't have to come out of her mouth. It was already obvious. Story 17. It's not much, but years ago, I found a friend online playing Minecraft. We played for years, and then out of the blue, he destroyed my base on a Minecraft server. I introduced him to over 500 hours in the server, stole everything inside, killed all my dinos on Ark that had come out recently, and much more. Insult to injury, I had bought him a game like a week prior, and for my jobless self, the $30 was a lot of money. Dude just wanted to see my suffer, I guess. Story 18. Couple of friends and I were planning to do driving lessons together. They did them without me. I had to do them alone and bored. I even waited a few months for them to turn 16 too. Story 19. The first person in my high school group of friends to get married asked everyone except me to be a bridesmaid. She claimed her fiancé didn't have another friend to ask, but it became pretty obvious that was a lie. My other friends in the bridal party said they made sure I was invited to the bachelorette party, and when I got there, the maid of honor, the bride's sister, had made matching t-shirts for everyone except me, and then claimed they didn't know what to put on mine since I wasn't a bridesmaid. So I wore black to the summer wedding and pissed everyone off because they claimed it ruined the pictures. Edit grammar. Story 20. After second year in university, where I'd been living in halls, a group of friends I agreed would register to rent a house next year, agreed would all go to wherever it was we needed to register. One morning, I was lying in bed asleep and half woke when some of them came in to speak to my then roommate. Then they all agreed to sneak out register without waking me. Story 21. I want to say my story, but I usually make a lot of mistakes because I don't speak English, so I was with my friends, and I told them that I need to give money one of our friends because he wasn't with us, and I borrowed his money the day before. They said they're going to the school court, and when it'll be done, I have to go there. When I finally came, they were really rude to me for no reason. They were swearing, and they cursed on me. I was like 9 years old, so it was really sad, and I went really angry. I fought with them and ran home crying. Sorry if you can't understand. I tried my best. Story 22. My former best friend's wife, we were friends too, but to a slightly lesser extent, told me that she had volunteered me to bake and decorate the cake for a mutual friend's baby shower. The original plan, upon hearing that our friend was pregnant, was for both of us to throw a shower for her. It was my idea, and she accepted. I guess that went out the window. I agreed to do the cake and asked my friend what the budget was. Never heard another thing about it. She stopped replying. We saw each other at a couple other occasions after that, and she behaved normally, so I figured she'd just change her mind. I found out later that she told the mother-to-be that I was who refused to do the cake for her. She was really angry with me and saved it up for months, pretending everything was fine. And I know about your assholeness with my shower cake. No, I just wasn't doing a special occasion cake for free. I asked her husband, before she made him stop talking to me, what was going on, and he said that his wife had hoped I would just offer to do it for free because they're broke. I was broke too. Sorry, I didn't want to spend hours on something for free. I had given them quarts of free ice cream, many free cupcakes and cakes. Guess it wasn't enough. Our friendship didn't end over that, but I was so taken aback by being slandered all over my asking what the budget was. You, Brittany, you're a freeloader. Story 23. When I was in like third grade, a kid's mom told me they were having a small family birthday party for him. Then at school, everyone was talking about how much fun his birthday party had been. In 7th grade, a similar thing happened with someone's bar mitzvah. Everyone came to school talking about how fun it had been, and I hadn't been invited. I didn't really make good friends who appreciated me until high school. Story 24. We were friends for about 4 or 5 years, and I stupidly told him a secret I probably shouldn't have. We got into a heated argument, and he yelled it out while the entire school had gathered around us. I ended up beating the ever-living out of him, and we haven't talked since. This was 2 years ago. Story 25. Got invited to their birthday party one year, but didn't the next year realize that we just started to drift apart, and they obviously didn't consider me a close friend. Story 26. Used to have a single friend after my friend group dissolved in middle school, and we were the only two left. She and I found our own groups to hang out with, but she would often guilt me when I'd spend time with them over her. I didn't realize how isolated Shed made me until I went out with her and her friends. She told me to sit at a different table, and nobody said anything. Good times. I still stuck around until graduation because I'd alienated everyone else. I talked with a therapist a few years after, and she connected the dots between my current aversion to friendship relationships and my past LOL. Before then, I couldn't even explain why I don't trust people now. Story 27. Made a friend in university. She was really nice to begin with, but she started being really toxic, telling me certain clothes didn't look good on me. She also would exclusively not invite me on nights out or for food. It really bothered me when she told me I was a liar for getting a distinction in one of my classes. Telling people I had just said it to make her look bad. I just told her to never talk to me again. Friends are meant to encourage you and make you feel good about yourself. Don't be a pushover when it comes to your own happiness. Story 28. We met freshman year of college, and a few years after we graduated, she asked me to be her maid of honor. The wedding was called off a few weeks before the wedding good thing. I initially tried to call and text, but then gave space as that seemed like what she wanted. After 2 years of practical radio silence, I kind of got the picture, or so I thought. Then she randomly texted me and another friend from college a picture of her hand with a new engagement ring. Apparently, she had been dating someone else for a while now and was engaged. I was surprised and didn't respond because that was almost the only time she reached out to me in 2 years. Fast forward a couple weeks, she texted asking if it was still my number and if I'd heard her news. When I said I had, I was just surprised because I didn't know she was seeing someone else. However, if she was happy, then I was happy. She went into an incredibly long apology and asked if I would fly to their semi-destination wedding. I politely declined a little to do with them flying to COVID hotspot. but mainly because a family member would be visiting soon. She then said that she wanted to call on one of 2 days so that we could catch up and all that. I mistakenly agreed, and after a little small talk, that was that. Well, the daytime, she said she would call rolls around, and I stare at the phone that's never going to ring. It's been 2 months since then, and haven't heard one word from her. Story 29, when I test the what if I stop writing first, and no one reaches out ever again, or also when I got a severe depression episode, and no one cared and ghosted me. I now share not one single contact with people before 2017. Story 30, I was bullied by a kid in middle school. One day, he grabbed me and kneed me into a wall. My hand was positioned weirdly, and he fractured it. It was painful, and I went over to my friend to consolidate me. "What are you coming to me for?" is what he said in front of many others who saw. I felt so alone. I went to the nurse and said I tripped on a tree root, which I was able to point out, and slammed hard into a wall. Not even my father knew. I was too afraid to say anything. I try to look up my bully, but can't find any trace of him on social media. I'd like to pay him a friendly visit one day. Story 31, in high school, I was friends with 4 girls. We were all close, rode the bus together, hung out every weekend, shared everything. Then I found out the one ID known since kindergarten has started a hate site about me that has been going for 3 years. They had a handshake that they did in front of me all the time. I never knew what it was, but never questioned it. Only found out when my only real friend found out, and she told me straight away. Looking back, I know now that it stemmed from jealousy. My parents were happily married, whereas none of theirs were. I was fit, came from money, etc. But at the time, I couldn't understand it. Really me up mentally for a long time. Story 32 was grew partners with this girl for 3 classes for the whole year in high school. We shared snacks and stuff, and had a lot in common, and was occasionally shushed by the teacher since we always chatted. We never hung out outside of school since we both worked, and she had extracurricular activities, but we chatted on social media occasionally. Then the year ended, and we happened to run into each other at an amusement park. She was with her family, and I said hi, and started chatting. Q&A, she acted as if she didn't know me and walked away. Tried the same thing on the first day of the next year, and she did the same thing. I don't know what I did. Some of my friends are friends with her, and never heard anything either. Story 33, when I was 11, the kid next door invited me to go to the local amusement park with him and his family on that weekend for his birthday. I love amusement parks, and especially at 11, I was excited as can be to go. The thing was, that day my parents had to drop me off at my grandma's house, so they arranged for my friend's family to pick me up from there to go to the amusement park, except they never showed up. I even had the whole waiting on the porch looking out for their car to drive up thing going on. The next week when I saw the kid, we were hanging out, and I noticed a thank you letter from one of the other neighborhood kids that he decided to take instead of me without telling me. I asked what happened, but he had some lame excuse that I knew was BS, but went along with it, and the friendship essentially ended there. Story 34, friend texted me, asking to hang out in a group. Then texts again after ID already gotten ready, saying I can't come anymore because another person she invited doesn't know me and doesn't want to hang out with me. WTF. Story 35, time for my own story. I started texting this girl who was in our friends group, and we seemed to get along pretty well until we both considered each other as best friends. So I thought, well, she gets back to her ex and stopped talking to me. But I didn't know that. I was then informed by one of her girlfriends that she didn't tell me she got back with her ex, so I wouldn't be sad, and she lied to me by telling me her parents told her to cut all contact with me. She still doesn't know that I know, and if she plans to contact me again, I won't respond, so yeah. Story 36, he got all my friends against me. Every single one of them hated me. I tried to find out what I did to him, but I got nothing. It got to the point where ID ended up physically hurt. All the friend groups I'd ever been in had just left me. I was glad when I moved schools, so thank you, Peter, for boosting my trust issues. Story 37, a girl I thought was my best friend, and there for me, through a tough time I was having with our group of girls, ended up being the person driving the wedge between me and the rest of my friends. Story 38, dude had cancer at a really young age, like 8 or 9, and we were best friends. He went to hospital, and my mom would always call his mom to let me speak to him. A few months later, he gets well enough to go to school and go on the school trip. He immediately went to a different friend group, like the kind who would up for him and be nice to him cause of what he went through. He never once spoke to me again that year, and after that he went to high school somewhere different to me, and we lost touch. Randomly messages me on Xbox like 6 years later asking how I was doing. I just broke down. I was there for him when he needed help, but he abandoned me when I needed it. Iffy him on read, then unfriended him. I don't need him in my life. It's hard, man. By the way, on mobile, wait not 6 years, prob 8 years at a T. Check for the upvotes, guys. I guess I'm sad that the most upvotes I have ever got is from this. I had been friends with a girl since high school. We had known each other for nearly 20 years. I was moving across the country to be with my partner, had sold my house and transferred my job. I held a going-away party, and she took my so to one side and told him a bunch of lies about me to try and get him to leave me. So I wouldn't go, because if I did, I wouldn't be available to her whenever she wanted anymore. She's done some shitty things in the past, and I knew she was quite a selfish person, but this was the last straw for me. Story 39, a girl I was friends with for 5 to 6 years or so, and I had to stop talking because I came to the realization she only wanted me around because no matter what, she knew I'd be there to clean up any mess she created. She treated me like constantly, always put me down, stood me up, never actually cared about me, never listened to anything that was troubling me, and most of the time ignored me unless she needed me to do something for her. The last straw was months went by without us talking. ID messaged her loads, but no reply. And all of a sudden, after months, I get text I'm pregnant. And it isn't my boyfriend's. I was in a servo traveling, and I just thought this I'm done and blocked her number. I was with my ex at the time who helped me through the process, but my God, it hurt. Years and years of time and effort put into that relationship for nothing. Story 40, in 5th grade, the person I considered at the time to be my best friend had their birthday coming up. We had this little group of weirdos, all of us basically friends that found each other because we didn't really fit in anywhere else. I asked him what he was doing for his birthday, and he said he sent out invitations. I mentioned I hadn't gotten mine, and his response was, "You realize we're only friends with you because we feel sorry for you." I suppose that was his way of telling me that I wasn't invited on purpose, but I did at the time believe him that everybody felt that way, and I basically spent middle school without friends because I couldn't trust that any friendship was real. Story 41, in middle school, we were going on a school trip to a park that had various activities, including a pool. My 3 closest friends and I did everything together. We even had a name for our group, made up of the letters from our names. All 3 of them said they were not planning to swim. I didn't bring my suit or a towel for this reason. When we got there, they all had a swimsuit and towel, saying they changed their minds last minute. They swam without me while I played mini golf alone. We remained friends after that, but I always felt like the odd one out in the group. Story 42, when I was 12, my best friend invited me to a fake party at a boy's house, and when I showed up, he acted as though he didn't know what I was talking about. I forgave her, and 25 years later, we're still tight. It has hurt to think about, though. Story 43, I thought I was friends with my coworker. It turns out she was going to the boss behind my back and telling him things that never happened about me. She didn't do it just once, but multiple times. The boss never checked with me and thought I was the one causing problems at the job site. It really hurt when I found out. I truly thought she was my friend. Story 44, when a former best friend didn't come to my dad's funeral and didn't have a good excuse. Edit 1, this comment should clarify things a bit more, but he was of all my closest friends. He met my dad many times and knew him very well. When his grandmother died, I came to the funeral. When his uncle died, I came to the funeral. When his grandmother was severely ill in the nursing home, I used to drive him there because he didn't have a car and public transportation took forever. I was the best man at his wedding, so I admit I was hurt when my best friend didn't show up. Story 45, at school. One year, my friend left to a special school. He had dyslexia. It was in 5th grade, and we had been friends since kindergarten. To put salt in the wound, a kid I thought was my friend wasn't. So one day in class, our assigned seats were being moved. I knew nothing could be better than my last seat, sitting at a table with the class clown and the school jock. I ended up at a table where I barely knew 23 other kids, and I said, "At least I have one friend here." And the kid I thought was my friend said, I was devastated. Later that night, I had to talk with my parents about friends. At 12:30 the next day, I had a croup attack and could barely breath. I was taken to the ER and given some steroids. The next day in school, I excelled in gym. At kickball, I pitched 3 perfect innings and I kicked 3 grand slams. My class developed a chant for me, "Steroid man, steroid man, steroid man." The same kid that told me he wasn't my friend said he coached me to that level. The whole time I was thinking, go back where you came from. A croup attack is usually stress-related, and your esophagus closes a lot. Not so that you die, but it feels like it. Story 46, freshman year of high school. I talked to this girl I liked for about half an hour to an hour almost every day. Towards the end of the year, she was stressed about a science final, and we were in the same class studying for it. So I tried to cheer her up. Instead of cheering her up, I guess I annoyed her, and she said we weren't even friends. That was the last time we spoke to each other. Story 47, friend with a guy for years. Then he made a move. He has a serious girlfriend, but he thought we could be FWBs. I don't know what hurt more. The fact that he admitted he was never really interested in my friendship or the hobbies we shared, and that he was always thinking about how he could get me into bed for 7 years, or the fact that he thought I'd be happy to be his side piece, and that we could deceive his girlfriend together. Story 48, in middle school, 4 of my friends would sit together for lunch at a booth, so I had to go sit by myself. There were tables that were 6 tops. It was intentional. Story 49, we planned out days before matching pirate costumes for Halloween. I come to find out that she got a new best friend and matching biker costumes to go trick or treating with the hour before we were going to go together. We were best friends for so long, though, that I was really upset about it, and am still a little salty, lol. But I got to go trick or treating with my little siblings instead, which was nice actually because my mom gave me more candy when we came back home. Story 50, she said we were best friends. I gave her a friendship necklace expecting her to give me the other half. I found out that she gave one half to herself and one to another girl, then lied about it. She then bullied me for years, so that was fun. Story 51, TLDR friend turned to drugs, and I figured out he never valued our friendship like I thought he did. Friend throughout middle high school years, came to my high school, both went to different high schools, which were really close to each other, and acted real friendly towards me, saying we should chill and grab some food at the mall before my mom picks me up. Went to the mall to get some snacks, and mysteriously at the till he had no money. I saw this red flag, and instead of addressing it right away, I acted oblivious to it and paid for his stuff to see how far he would go and what his motives were. Once my mom came to pick me up, he asked if he can come over. I said sure thing, and we got to my place to chill out. Within 30 minutes, he was feeling sick and wanted to go home. I told him to call his parents to pick him up like usual. He made some thin excuse, and I pretended to buy it and asked my mom to drop us off at his place. She wasn't happy, but I explained to her I know what was happening, and she played along. Once we went to his place, we booted up the Xbox 360, and within 2 minutes, he's passed out in his room with his out, and like this guy is acting hella different and suspicious. Made sure he's knocked out, and I looked around his room, and sure enough, I found he had quite a bit of money on him. So he lied he had no cash and couldn't get a taxi. Okay, I started looking a little more and found out he's been in contact with a gang and familiar with selling drugs and using them. I was disappointed in him cause he was very smart and bright, and after I approached him for how he treated our friendship, he stated what friendship. You are just a stepping stone for me. This was painful for me to hear despite knowing it was coming. The good thing is now he went to rehab and has been clean for a year, but we are not friends anymore since that day. Story 52 happened recently enough. Right after the Canada started being more lenient on quarantine, I got added by my best friend in a group chat with a few of our other friends we went through high school with. My best friend was planning on having a barbecue at his place, so we started planning on who bring what food bevs. After a while, there was a bit of silence in the group until the last week before the barbecue. One dude, let's call him Charles, goes on about how people are being too quiet and that we should be planning more. We had all agreed on who was bringing what, and everyone confirmed their presence already. Charles then says that it's always my best friend, himself, and another guy in the group that are always planning and that we never confirm until the last minute spouting nonsense. I had only ever been invited to things by my best friend. It turns out they hang out every week, which gets hard after college, and no one bothered to tell me. Edit typos.